So today I'm going to be talking a little bit about whether or not Sophie Cunningham or Lexie Hull is going to be starting for the Indiana Fever in the 2026 season. And this is something that I think a lot of people are saying, oh, it's going to be Lexie. She started last year. But she only started last year because Sophie got injured. Like, both times that Lexie Hull has become a starter for the Indiana Fever have been in situations where Sophie Cunningham has been injured. She's never technically beaten out Sophie to that starting spot. She's just had it to lose. And once it was taken by Breanna, once it was taken by Sophie. And when it comes to Lexie Hull and Sophie, they are not remotely similar types of players. And the easiest answer to give about who should start is depends on the opposition. That is what the answer should be, is depends on the opposition. Because if the Indiana Fever are playing against let's just say first game of the season, they're facing the Dallas Wings. Who do you want on Paige Bueckers? The answer, ironically, is Sophie Cunningham. Why do you want Sophie on her? Sophie Cunningham, like Paige Bueckers is not speed. Paige Bueckers is somebody that is going to work off a lot of back cuts. She's going to work off a lot of screens. And it's going to be a lot of the big hedging up on the screens, having to guard Paige. Sophie Cunningham's very good at guarding back cuts. She's very disciplined on the defensive end. And I don't think in general that Sophie's as good a defender as Lexie, but I think in that one specific matchup, I think Sophie probably gets the nod. But then, if you look at the rest of their schedule games, and you look at who they're facing off against. So, who do you want in game number 2, which is against the WNBA website's really bad, so it's not even loading the schedule properly. Man, I hate the WNBA website so much. I hate it so much. It's the worst thing ever. It does not even work. 2026, upcoming. There we go. They're facing off against the Sparks. And you want to know who the Sparks have? The Sparks have Ariel Atkins. The Sparks have Kelsey Plum. And the Sparks have Ray Burrell. You want Caitlin to guard Ray Burrell? If it was tactically, you probably start Lexie in this game because of Atkins and speed, and Kelsey Plum's speed. The Washington Mystics, you probably start Sophie. The Seattle Storm, who cares? The Portland Fire, who cares? The Valks. Who's going to take the Gabby Williams or the Tiffany Hayes matchup? Probably Lexie. That would be, if I was to say what should be done, and in any other sport, what would be done is that you would pick your team based on who you're facing off against. You would pick your team based on what you believe is needed to win that game. However, it is one of those things where that is not the way basketball really works. It's not the way the NBA works. It's not the way WNBA works. There's so much weight being put on who starts and who doesn't. More so than, who's going to start this one game. And there's who is the starter. Realistically, it should always be a case where the starters should be who will win you that game. There shouldn't be this team is a set starter, but that is the way basketball culture is. There are set starters. And with that, my guess is that it's one of these things where it is you could argue that it's somebody's spot to lose. And we saw last year, DeWanna Bonner lost her starting spot in preseason. I know, she lost after the first 2 games of preseason. Sophie Cunningham was the best player on the Indiana Fever. She's the one who took over the starting spot. She took over as the starter in preseason. And people don't seem to realize that because they're always like, oh yeah, Sophie was the starter over DeWanna during the season. No, it didn't happen like that. DeWanna lost her starting spot twice. Once to Sophie, once to Lexie. Sophie Cunningham fought out and earned the starting spot last season, then got injured. And Lexie Hull did a good job as a starter. Both of these players are fine coming off the bench. And if you look statistically, fine as in they're okay. They're they're fine with it. But if you look statistically, both the team, not even a team thing, but Lexie Hull plays significantly better as a starter. And I understand, obviously, the best game of Lexie Hull's career was coming off the bench for Katie Lou Samuelson in that Seattle game where she goes 5 of 6 from 3. Quite a lot of that hot streak was when she was on the bench. But over Lexie's career, she has been significantly better as a starter. And Sophie Cunningham, whether she's starting or on the bench, her numbers seem to be the same. Her numbers genuinely seem to be the same. And is this just by chance? Probably. Probably, because there are some players that their starter and bench numbers are very different just because of how it is mentality-wise. But I don't think that's really the case with either of these players. But still, I think if you're putting out the best 5, at this point in time, Sophie Cunningham is the better player of the two. She is. Like, Lexie is incredibly streaky. Like, if you look at Lexie Hull's, and we've showed it where Sophie Cunningham's game log, when she shoots, she had like a ridiculous spell last year of scoring. Like, last year, Lexie Hull shot 36% from 3, 29% from 3 in postseason, and for her career is a 33% three-point shooter. Do you know that through 2.5 seasons, Lexie Hull was a career 19% three-point shooter? Like, when it comes to Lexie, why is ESPN not even showing game logs? I can't even see the game log. But basically, Lexie Hull went on a uber hot streak where she went from being the last place in volume three-point shooting to leading the league in three-point shooting in the 2024 season. There was a 10-game spell where she shot 70% from 3 on like 5 attempts per game. Like, she was shooting 19% up to that. And in her first 2 seasons in the WNBA, this is what Lexie shot from 3. 18% and 21%. And she was shooting 19% in year 3 up to a point. She then shot 47% because she went on this nuclear hot streak. It is one of these things where Lexie Hull is a streaky shooter, even though the percentages, Sophie's percentages are definitely better than Lexie's. Their percentages don't show the gap between them as shooters. Lexie is a streaky shooter and shoots well from one spot on the floor, the left-hand corner. It is the only spot Lexie Hull shoots the 3 well from, is the left-hand corner. Sophie Cunningham was pulling from 3 feet behind the 3-point line on reversals in last week's game. I don't believe the defensive gap is big enough between the two of them to start Lexie Hull, or to play Lexie Hull over Sophie Cunningham. I do, however, believe that there are situations where you want Lexie Hull in the game when you're playing a Ryan Howard, when you're playing a team that has these big mobile players, when you're playing the New York Liberty where Satu Sabali might be playing on the perimeter a little bit more. If one of them stuck and has to guard Breanna Stewart, if you're looking for one single defensive stop, if you just as a team can't get stops and you want someone just to break up the other team's offense by drawing a couple of offensive fouls. But I'm also very concerned when it comes to Lexie Hull in terms of her minutes. I'm not concerned for Lexie Hull. She's making $800K a year to play basketball. But I'm concerned for her minutes for Raven Johnson. Like, Raven Johnson is the better defender than Lexie Hull. And if Lexie cannot outshoot Raven Johnson, like, for anyone saying, oh, Lexie's much bigger, I mean this. If the two of them put their hands up in the air, they probably reach in and around the same height. Just because Lexie Hull's head is higher doesn't mean she's significantly bigger than Raven Johnson. Like, I think Raven Johnson and Lexie are fighting for those defensive stopper minutes. And I think Sophie as a shooter is just levels above both of them. So yeah, look, for me, this is something where I'm like, it kind of makes, it's a tough one. It makes sense why people are wondering who's going to start. But for me, it has to be Sophie. It just has to be. Based on what she showed last season, she was exceptional to end last season. Like, before she got hurt, she went on that spell of, was a spell of about 10 or 12 games where she was shooting 50% from 3 and averaging like 16 points per game. Like, that had never happened. Not only that, she was one of the best players. I think you could make an argument that she deserved to win Commissioner's Cup Final MVP. I think Natasha Howard, I'm fine with being Natasha Howard, but you can make a genuine argument that Sophie Cunningham deserved MVP. She earned that starting spot, took it from Lexie because she was the best player. Like, there were at least 8 games last season where Sophie Cunningham was the best player in the Fever. I don't think we can say that about Lexie Hull. And yes, Lexie Hull did make a game-winning defensive stop. She made an absolutely incredible defensive stop in the playoffs. I'm not saying Lexie Hull's this terrible basketball player. I'm just saying I think Sophie's really, really good. And I think Sophie is very difficult to replace. I think Sophie's a better connective passer. I think in terms of their lateral speed, I don't think there's that big of a difference. I think Lexie Hull hustles harder. I think she plays harder. I think she generates extra possessions as an offensive rebounder. I think she can cause havoc on the defensive end. But I don't know if causing chaos. And like, again, we saw it in Rivals. Sometimes she can absolutely just cause chaos in a positive way. But I don't think causing chaos should get you in over a person who might be the best 5th option in the entire league.